What is the latest you're hearing about movement at the top of the draft?
Listen, it's always possible. We know that the Detroit Lions at number 3 would like to go back. The New York Giants at number 4 would like to go back. I think the key question here, the Dolphins at 5, the Chargers at 6. Both teams are thought to be interested in quarterbacks. And the question is, does one of them want to move up? And to date, the sense I've gotten is no. And basically, maybe the Lions or Giants asking price later in the day drops some. And if that's the case, then maybe one of these teams winds up coming up for a small price. But I don't think the Lions or the Giants are going to get the ransom that they would like to have at this particular point in time. So, again, there's a real chance that the top 5, 6 picks in the draft will stay just where they are. Although that's very unusual for a draft not to have any movement. But the key is the quarterbacks, and whether the Dolphins think the Chargers will come up or whether the Chargers value one of the quarterbacks enough to leapfrog the Dolphins because they think the Dolphins are going in a certain direction. But the issue is we don't know which quarterback the Dolphins want. We don't know which quarterback the Chargers want. But we do know that quarterbacks are in play at 5 and at 6.
Adam Schefter, why exactly are the Detroit Lions looking to move back, and what does this say about the level of confidence that they have in Matthew Stafford? I imagine they have more confidence in him than has been initially reported.
Well, I think they do have confidence in Matthew Stafford. I absolutely do believe that. I will be surprised if the Detroit Lions go for a quarterback. We never fully know until the draft happens, but that would surprise me. So if you're the Lions sitting at 3 and you can go back to 5 or 6, you're still going to be able to get a blue chip defensive talent at 5 or 6, the same player, Stephen A., that you probably would wind up getting at number 3. Because I think most people think the Lions would trade with one of those teams if it could get worked out, which, again, there's nothing close at this time. And that team coming up would take a quarterback. The Giants are not in the quarterback market. So, again, only one of those two teams, the Lions or the Giants, could move back because potentially only one of those teams, the Dolphins or Chargers, could come up. And that's even if they are willing to come up. As of this morning, that was not the case. Now, it could change as the course of the day goes on. We're sort of at the bewitching hour where people put their cards on the table, the moment of truth arrives, and we get to see what everybody's really thinking. You could play poker all you want, but in the end, you got to show your cards here, and so we'll know whether or not one of those teams, the Dolphins or Chargers, is uneasy enough that to sit where they are rather than move up. And again, to date, nothing close to happening.
Adam, the Patriots don't draft quarterbacks in the first round, especially not when the 6th rounder is the greatest of all time.
But even Max, there was no reason to, yes.
Right, but Brissett, Garoppolo, even when they draft a quarterback relatively, that's never in the first round. However, have you heard anything in terms of them really liking a guy like Tua, where if he were to start to fall, they would potentially trade up to get him?
See, here's my whole thing. I don't think Tua is getting past the top 5 or 6 picks. I just think between the Dolphins and Chargers, I don't know how it comes out. I just think Tua is too good and too much of a talent for both teams with a quarterback question to bypass him. I don't know where he's going to go, 5 or 6, but I do believe he's going to go 5 or 6 to one of those two teams. And so I don't think he's going to slide. Could Herbert slide? Potentially, if, again, it falls a certain way. But I think those two quarterbacks are right in play, right with those two teams. Now, if there's an upset, if somebody likes Jordan Love, like the Dolphins are thought to have, and they decide to go there or they decide to use a later pick on Jordan Love, and one of these quarterbacks starts to slide, then I think it gets interesting for a team like New England. I think there are other teams that would be positioned towards the back of the draft that could be in the quarterback market. You hear some talk about the Raiders drafting a quarterback somewhere this year. You hear talk about the Patriots potentially doing it, the Saints, the Packers. Again, we don't know which ones will actually do it. But I don't think Tua is going to slide. I just don't see him sliding past 5 and 6. The team's at 5 and 6.
Okay, interesting. And the Raiders already have 2 quarterbacks. Adam, I want to stay with New England for one more minute. What are you hearing about New England in the wide receiver position?
The wide receiver, a short time ago, the Patriots reached agreement on a one-year deal with Marquise Lee. I'm in draft mode, Molly, so to transition to free agents there, caught me off guard for a moment. But essentially,
I apologize.
A player that the Jaguars released a short time ago, a former second-round draft pick from USC, the Patriots scoop him up. One-year deal. Show me what you can do. A typical Patriot kind of deal, signing a talented guy who played very well when he was healthy in Jacksonville, now gets a new chance. We don't know who's going to be throwing him the football in New England, probably Jarrett Stidham, but the Patriots are not worried about that. They're not thinking about that right now. All we know is that they have an agreement in place on a one-year deal with Marquise Lee, the former second-round draft pick from USC.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.